we are going to sort of take the temperature on NFTs and where everything is at the moment, and also just notice the shift in kind of the nuance of how companies and people are working in the Web3 space and releasing stuff. So the story is around Louis Vuitton, who are launching a new collection of treasure trunks NFTs costing 39,000 euros each. So they are absolutely just going for the full luxury end.
Overpriced.
I mean,
yes.
No doubt, just luxury in general, overpriced. But essentially...
They're not swimming trunks either. They're digital trunks. I read that and I'm like, oh yeah, they could take those down to the Brighton beach. And no, it's not. It's
like a treasure chest.
Oh. It's like sometimes you're just like, just look at yourself. Yeah. Just for one tiny second, look at what you're doing here. I mean, firstly, Louis Vuitton. It's a brand I have a difficult relationship with because, you know, it's like, oh, it's, you know, it's luxury bags. But then there are so many knockoffs of these things. You know, it's like you go on holiday and you get your knockoff Louis Vuitton bag that looks very credible and like the original. And it's just like, I personally, I find them pretty ugly. But that's my personal taste. This trunk is just, it looks like an old record box. You know, like when DJs had vinyl, remember that, kids? Before we got MP3s and streaming and all this stuff, there was like physical vinyl and DJs used to carry around a record. It looks like that. It's kind of metal. And then, so you've got this NFT and you have this wonderful word, phygital. So you've got a physical and a digital. Phygital.
Yeah. And
sounds like a disease, doesn't it? Oh, you've got a bad case of phygital. You've got a bad case of phygital there, son. We've got to recommend a cream for that. But the narrative around this is that it's obviously a luxury brand. Luxury brands have traditionally not been very good at digital because, for obvious reasons, luxury brands are about craftsmanship. They're about heritage. They're about this feeling of superior everything that is tactile, that you can experience, and digital doesn't really deliver that. But of course, digital now can deliver that through scarcity, like we were talking before. So scarcity is a luxury component now. You can't have it, but I can because I can afford it. I mean, if you have a nice Rolex, you put it on your wrist and you flex it, and people go, "Ooh, nice Rolex, mate." You go, "Yeah, it is, in it." And then there's like this whole secondary market for Rolexes, and wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. This thing, come on,
you've got to carry your treasure chest around with you.
Yeah, but you're not going to use this for anything. Like if you have kids, they'll be sitting on it, and like, it's just like, come on, like we can do better than this, surely.
Yeah, I mean, their thing is that it's going to be, you know, the starts of this physical treasure chest and the NFT version, and then exclusive products and experiences come to the person who holds it. You also can't sell the original NFT; it's soul bound, which is interesting. So this is a thing that, you know, if you've got the physical treasure chest, you can prove you've got the NFT, so you definitely own it. It is real. That, you know.
Do you want to explain? Soul bound?
Shout. Yeah, so
understand.
For anyone who doesn't know, with, you know, the NFTs that you've all heard about before, if you buy one, you can sell it and trade it multiple times, and you know, that fuels the whole market. A soul bound token is a different type of NFT. That means once it's in your wallet, it can never leave. So there isn't a sort of secondary marketplace for it, but it, you know, can prove that you've got something real, or people will talk about it for maybe they'll be useful for things like degrees in the future. So you can go to your wallet and see all the jobs you've been to, and they're things that are locked to your wallet that only you have and never leave. So this is interesting. So you're going to have the chest, and then you're going to, you know, they're going to roll out different products and experiences as we go forward, which makes sense. It's in contrast to what they did. They did a previous like NFT free-to-play game thing. They've obviously gone, do you know what, screw that. That's not Louis Vuitton making it accessible to everyone. Let's go super high-end, and it's going to be, for people who can afford this type of thing, which is kind of wild. It's going to give you keys that unlock additional products, and then the additional products that come to you can be sold. So it's kind of like this sort of master key to getting stuff, and then you can trade what arrives to you after that.
The soulbound concept is sometimes a little bit tricky for people to understand. It comes from a video game, and it was coined by Vitalik, although he didn't actually come up with the concept. But the idea is that the asset belongs to you and is tied in some way to you in a way that you cannot ever break. And so if you think about your passport, that is a soulbound token, effectively, because it cannot belong to anybody else. And what it does is it creates a zero secondary market for the item. So once you're in, and it's then about the relationship with you over time as a result of ownership of this token. So the token itself isn't valuable. It's what it unlocks for you that is valuable, which is quite an interesting dynamic. And you can think about it in terms of membership. If you're put forward as a member of, for instance, Soho House, that membership could be a soulbound token, and one of the perks of that would be allowing you to put other people forward for membership, those kind of things. But it can never be transferred. That's actually pretty powerful. We're still trying to get to the kind of idea of how best to use those. But I think what's interesting here is Louis Vuitton's strategy, which they're calling Web 2.5, includes more traditional methods like email correspondence. Limiting why is that Web 2.5? I don't know. I don't really like the idea of Web 2.5. It's like, it's not quite Web 3, it's not quite Web 2. It's like you're either using blockchain or you're not. If you are, then you are Web 3. You can't kind of backtrack and sort of go around the outside. It's like, just own that
I guess
shit.
It's the user experience of Web 2, but the ownership of Web 3, right? So instead of getting people to...
But like every user experience of Web 3 involves some form of like connection to communication channels. Nobody's fully pseudonymous. It doesn't exist. So... I don't know. And that's also assuming that Web3 can have nothing to do with Web2. Like, it's all mixed up and commingled, and there are certain shades of things which make sense. Anyway, I don't want to rant about NFTs because it gets boring for people, but the soulbound part of this I thought was interesting. But the price, the product itself, not for me.
For me.